The one collective goal of every AFC team not named the Kansas City Chiefs this upcoming 2021 NFL season is going to be knocking off the best team in football the past 2 years, which is the Kansas City Chiefs. Although this is the goal for 15 teams in the AFC, there are 10 teams who basically have no chance at being able to do this. However, there are 5 teams who I think have a really actually good shot at being able to knock off the best team in football. I'll go ahead and talk about the 10 teams who I think have no chance. We have Cincinnati, Houston, Indianapolis, Jacksonville, Las Vegas, Miami, New England, the Jets, Pittsburgh, and Tennessee. Now, 3 teams to talk about real quick: Pittsburgh, Tennessee, and New England. And actually, I'll throw Vegas in there as well. You just don't have a certain thing that I think can compare to what Patrick Mahomes brings to the football field. Patrick Mahomes brings something to the football field that has not been seen ever by his position. The ability to throw on the run, the ability to dissect opponents from the pocket, the ability to just control every aspect of the game is a way that hasn't been seen before. Tom Brady has done similar things, but he's never done it the way that Mahomes has done it. And those 3 teams, Pittsburgh, Tennessee, New England, even Vegas, your team just doesn't have that special thing to it that matches what Patrick Mahomes does. And for that reason, I just think you don't have a chance. Now, the other teams that I talked about: Cincinnati, Houston, Indianapolis, Jacksonville, the Jets. There is a chance that you have a decent season this year. I hate the Indianapolis Colts, but there's a chance that you guys maybe go over 500 this year. As a Texans fan, I understand that my team is going to be 4-13, and I'll be happy with that. It's too early for a lot of these teams. The New York Jets with Zach Wilson, it's too early. Cincinnati, it's too early with Joe Burrow. Trevor Lawrence is too early in Jacksonville. For a lot of these teams, it's just too early. So that leaves us with 5 teams who do have a good chance at beating the Kansas City Chiefs in a playoff bout, in a game that actually matters. The 5th best team out of these 5 that I'm going to talk about is the Denver Broncos. This is a team that I completely overlooked in the whole hierarchy of the offseason. I didn't really think that this team had a good offseason, but then when you look at what they did in terms of adding to their team and making a overhaul from a below average team last year to a team this year that is not only well above average, but it's professional on almost every single level. They finally decided to move on from Drew Lock, their second-round bust that they chose a few years ago. At running back, they still have Melvin Gordon, drafted Javonte Williams. They have some other decent players in the backfield as well. And then the wide receiver core is something that really should be exciting. Courtland Sutton missed almost all of last season with an ACL injury, I believe it was. So now this is going to be the first full season that we see the wide receiver core of Jerry Jeudy, Courtland Sutton, KJ Hamler, Deontay Spencer, and Tim Patrick together. They have one of the best wide receiver cores in the NFL. It's young, it's quick, it's exciting. And then throw in the fact that they have Noah Fant and a really good backup tight end in Albert Okwuegbunam, which I'm sure a lot of you don't know who that is, but if he has a good season, you'll know his name for a while. And defensively, they did basically the exact same thing. They have their 2 incredible outside linebackers with Von Miller and Bradley Chubb, who are going to get after the quarterback. And in the secondary, they have a secondary that rivals almost any in the NFL. Between the corners, they have Kyle Fuller, Bryce Callahan, Ronald Darby, and Patrick Surtain, their first-round pick out of, I believe it was Alabama this past season. So, as well as the fact that they have Justin Simmons, who is an all-pro at that free safety position. He is a guy you really want to remember his name by the end of the year. They just have a really good team. And with, a good head coach in Vic Fangio, I don't think he's a great head coach, but with a good head coach in Vic Fangio, this team could do incredible things, including beating Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. Now, the next team that I'm going to talk about, probably the 4th best team not named the Kansas City Chiefs, is the LA Chargers. And really, a lot of this has to do with the fact that they have Justin Herbert as the quarterback for this team. I like a lot of their players. I love Keenan Allen. I love Austin Eckler. I think that Joey Bosa is one of the best DNs in the entire NFL, and just pass rushers in general, he's one of the best ones in the NFL. There's a little bit missing with LA that isn't missing with the next three teams I'm going to mention. Really, all this has to do with the fact that Justin Herbert, I think, has a chance to win the MVP this season. He's probably going to throw over 40 touchdowns. He's probably going to be towards the top in terms of the passing yards for the entire NFL. He's going to have a good team around him in LA. They're probably going to win double-digit games. So I honestly would just think that, Justin Herbert's going to be an MVP contender, and that's their really main hope, to beat former MVP Patrick Mahomes. Next up is the Cleveland Browns, and out of this, this crop of three teams that has a chance to beat Kansas City, they're probably the most offensively balanced team. They have a good quarterback in Baker Mayfield. They have two good running backs in Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. They've got really good wide receivers between Donovan Peoples-Jones, Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham Jr., Rashard Higgins. At tight end, they have Njoku and Austin Hooper. Their offensive line is great as well. Really, the only hang-up with this team is the fact that defensively, there's some young players at key positions, like Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who's going to be his first year with that linebacking core. That includes second-year guy Mac Wilson, I believe. That includes guys who just aren't used to playing as key of a position as they're going to be playing this season. And I think that could be a downfall of this team by the end of the season. Now, the second best team that I have outside of Kansas City in the AFC is the Baltimore Ravens. Really, the only reason I don't have them at number one is because they've had a few too many injuries for me so far. J.K. Dobbins going down for the year, as well as Justin Hill. Both of those guys were looked at as key contributors for the backfield. Rashad Bateman has been in and out of the lineup during training camp and the offseason for this Baltimore Ravens team. I believe it's a groin injury that he suffered early on in training camp. Miles Boykin's been off the field. Their offensive line is kind of patchwork right now. It's adding two guys, actually three guys, who were not playing for the team last year. If Jawan James ends up playing at right tackle, which it probably won't be, I believe Villanueva is going to move to right tackle, which is a position he was not playing last season with Pittsburgh. So it's just there's a few weird things with Baltimore right now to where I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl. I don't think they're going to knock off the Chiefs, but they are one of the better teams that could actually knock off the Chiefs if Lamar Jackson takes that next step into being an elite quarterback. And the offense is well around him as well. Now, the best team outside of Kansas City, the team with the best chance of representing the AFC in the Super Bowl, not named Kansas City, is the Buffalo Bills. It's a team that a lot of you probably thought was going to be the number one team on this list, and they deserve it more than any other team in this conference. A lot of it is Josh Allen. Like Justin Herbert, I think he's going to be towards the top of the MVP rankings by the end of the year. He's going to be considered one of, if not the best quarterback in the NFL, and one of, if not the best player in the NFL. That's kind of how the trajectory for a lot of these quarterbacks has gone over the past few years, is they have a really good year and then follow that up with an MVP year. They get ranked as the number one player in the NFL by their peers in that NFL Top 100 thing that is so incredible. And then they just go from there, and they have their incredible career from there. I think Josh Allen is the next guy to do that. I think they have the best chance of beating Kansas City in the playoffs, whether it's the championship game, whether it's just a divisional game in late January, or I guess mid-January. So, yeah, Buffalo has the best chance of beating Kansas City out of anyone in the NFL, and I don't think anyone's surprised about that. With all that being said, that's going to be the video for me. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you leave a like. If you didn't, make sure you leave a dislike. Any feedback from you at this point is much appreciated, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.